This is a beautiful setting, isn't it? The Quaker house. My name's Therese, Collie. I'll just tell you a few things before we start the formal part of this beautiful event in honour of our dear friend and family member. The way downstairs is only those stairs at the side of the Quaker house. And downstairs there are not one, not two, but 3 toilets and a shower and actually a bed. So
there is a path down.
Oh, also you can go up and then around a path if you don't want to do stairs. Yeah. So 3 toilets down there. That's where we'll gather afterwards. That's where all the food and drink will be. And all the storytelling and all the photos and ephemera and memorabilia that people have so beautifully brought today. Also, afterwards, the Quaker House people said, please feel free to move out into the bush. There's nice benches and tables out there too. In case of an emergency, which is not going to happen, I know you won't panic and you'll all be really calmly moving through that door, up the entranceway and out to the street. There is also actually another little toilet just up the top of that path. In case you don't like the other 3. It's closer. Yeah. And please turn your mobile phones to mute, and but please, I guess, feel free to take photos. Does anyone have any objections with that?
No.
No.
I speak for everybody.
Okay. I think that's all that kind of stuff. So now it's my great pleasure to call on Wesley Enoch to give acknowledgement to country.
Thank you.
Garing in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. Garing in the name, Garing in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. Garing in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. Garing in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. I am a marangai, I am a marangai, Jagungun Marongo. Garin in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. Garin in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. I am a marangai, I am a marangai, Jagungun Marongo. Garin in the name, Jojo Mumerongo. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you for the opportunity to come and do this acknowledgement of country. And I sing that song as it was taught to me. As people will know, everyone in this room will know and be familiar with that song. A sense of country, a sense of arrival, also a sense of departure. And this wonderful thing, as you look out here now and you see these trees and you go, we are but small specks sitting on a leaf of a tree saying, you know, this tree has been here for all of my life and I must know it well. And the tree then sits on the land and says, I've been here all my life and I know this land well. And this hill has sat here for all of its life and says, I know this world well. And yet we are only small parts sitting on the next, sitting on the next, sitting on the next. And that the sense of eldership being passed down from generation to generation the idea of our inheritance that grows around us, the animals that hold our memories, the idea of the weather patterns as they remind us of, we're all old enough to remember the August winds and the coming of August, which is now moved into somewhere else, I think. But this idea of memory of land and how land remembers us. And I think that there's something to be said for how that wisdom being passed down from generation to generation, acknowledging that wisdom that we all must learn from. We who come from Aboriginal backgrounds, my family come from Quandamooka land, but also Kanju land in the Gulf Carpentaria, but also this land here, the Yagara. Well, we used to say Jagara. Remember when we say Jagara? But we remember that, and we know that culture changes and is iterative. When we say Yagara, we now talk about the Turrbal or the Yugarabal. We talk about the clans in different ways. And I just pay my respects to those elders, and also this wonderful sense of gathering of elders as these familiar faces with the grey hair and the coloured hair and the absence of hair. This wonderful sense of gathering to remember not just the one life, but the life before, the life beyond, the life that's been here for a very, very long time. So I pay my respects to those elders present, those elders who have gone before us, and thank them for the wisdom for us to see a future and to imagine that future through our creativity and our storytelling and our imagination, of which we all share. Thank you.
Beautiful, Wesley, thank you. Yes, what a privilege it is to be here on the land of the Turrbal people, the traditional custodians who've cared for this country for tens of thousands of years. Land that was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. We also want to acknowledge and pay our respects to their elders past and present for keeping culture alive through song, dance, art and storytelling. And we acknowledge any First Nations people in the room today. So how wonderful it is to be here in the Quaker meeting house, surrounded by these sentinels, as Wesley pointed out, these beautiful tall hoop pines. This is a place of peace. The Quakers are people of peace and inclusion, a place that Fiona was familiar with. And therefore, it's a perfect place for showing our love for our friend. Now, this is a wake, so it's a communal expression of our sadness for our loss, where we'll be supporting each other through sharing stories, music, artworks, photos, food and fun. Because Fiona loved life and we love the life she lived. And now I'd like to ask her sister Gail to speak about her darling sister.
Thank you. Now, some of you have heard some of what I've said already, so I apologise for repeating myself, but they're good stories, they bear repeating. I'm going to remind you all that Fiona was the light in our lives. Fiona was born in 1961 as the third child of our parents, Pam and Keith Winning. Mum, a physiotherapist, was a voracious reader, curious about the world. She was beautiful, loved gorgeous clothes and fabrics, parties, her children, friends, and a good laugh. Dad, an electrical engineer, was a respected businessman in Brisbane. He was tough, intelligent, optimistic, and calm under pressure. He loved spending time with the family on our beach holidays, teaching us to fish and surf. He was also the stern and sometimes frightening disciplinarian in the family. Dad was noisy and boisterous. Mum was quieter and engaging. They both enjoyed art, music and theatre, but there was no creativity in their DNA. Fiona had 3 siblings, me, 5 years older, Tracy, 3 years older, who would be here today, but she's travelling overseas, and Adam, 18 months younger. Our parents gave us an amazing start in life. Many, many things. A wonderful education, wonderful beach holidays, overseas travel, vision, wisdom, and curiosity about the world. And I think Fiona got the best parts of all of those things. Our parents died 30 days apart, just over 22 years ago. Many of you will know that Mum's illness stole her away from us progressively. Over about 20 years. Excuse me, didn't expect that. At Mum's funeral, Fiona wrote and delivered the sole eulogy. Fiona chose in that eulogy to begin the process of, in her words, the systematic reclamation of the decades of life before Mum's illness. Fiona described Mum through her best years to enable us to shift the sadness of her long illness. In rereading Fiona's words from that day, I remember her lived values of love, compassion, joy, and optimism. Fiona was, as we all know, incredibly generous. Everyone in the family has had the great pleasure of attending performances with Fiona. Of course, the earliest shows gave us the chance to see Fiona performing. In the late 80s, Dad travelled to Duringa, population 262 in the 21 census, to watch Fiona in her travelling show, Women of the West. As Fiona progressed in her chosen career as cultural worker, ultimately becoming a much-loved cultural leader, we all accompanied her to shows. The most recent was a wonderful show I attended with Fiona, our daughter Anna, and Anna's children, Hector and Artemis, in Melbourne in March this year. It was always such a joy to see shows with Fiona. We'd watch her greet artists and performers with that broad smile. She always seemed to know their latest project and was keen to hear how their work was progressing. I also want to mention today Fiona's commitment to supporting her godchild, Billy, after the death of Billy's mother, the beautiful Sam Morrison, beloved friend of Fiona and many here today. Fiona was dedicated to looking after Billy to the very best of her ability, even though Billy lives in Melbourne. Fiona stayed in very regular contact with Billy, providing support and assistance whenever called upon. Fiona loved life, Harley, her family, and her beautiful friends, and we all adored her. She was such a fun auntie for the children in the family. She gave wonderful gifts from her travels. She always looked exotic in her stunning dresses and great shoes, topped by her wild and brightly coloured hair and fancy specs. When she bustled into the room with arms full of food and wine, asking if the champagne was open yet, the room lit up and the celebration could begin. Some of you will know that Fiona, this last July-August, with her usual kindness and generosity, invited Tracy, Adam and me to stay with her and Harley at their beautiful place in far north Queensland. It thrilled all of us to join Fiona in a daily dip in the ocean and to then laze on the sand, savouring being at the beach together again. That was Fiona's gift to us. While we were there, Fiona spoke of the fulfilled life she had enjoyed. She told us she felt deeply loved and supported by Harley, her family, and her beautiful friends. We were moved and inspired by her grace and dignity as she acknowledged and accepted that she was dying. None of us could know at that time that we would lose her so soon. As we move through the shattering pain of Fiona's death, we will do our best to honour Fiona's request that we remember the good times. We will all miss her terribly and forever. That's the end of my words, and before I read Tracy's words, I just want, on behalf of Tracy and Adam and myself, to give our heartfelt thanks to Jane, Harley, Pauline and Theresa, and all of Therese, Collie, and all of the people who've worked tirelessly to organise this wonderful Brisbane celebration of Fiona. And now I'm Tracy. Tracy's words begin with the last stanza of a poem by Margaret Mead, called Remember Me. Remember in your heart your thoughts and your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never have gone. Tracy said, some people are lucky enough to have a sister. We know we were more than lucky to have Fiona as our sister. She was always remarkable, even if we didn't realise as children just how remarkable she was. We're privileged to have shared 63 years of her wonderful life. There's no way to explain why it is Fiona who has died. She still had so much to do. But Fiona worked out early on how important it was to make the most of life and how to do that, even though her life was to end earlier than she was expecting. She worked hard for decades and as a result had an enormous impact on so many people's lives and careers while making long-lasting friendships and still had energy to party. I'm looking forward to hearing those stories. In her own words, she acknowledged that she had had a joyful, joyous and fulfilled life. This was in no small part due to her passion for her work and community. There were moments when we resented the time Fiona spent working and even catching up with her friends because it meant we had less time with her. But that was who Fiona was. She was so much to so many people. It was especially hard after her diagnosis when Fiona continued working for another 8 months. But she did not want her cancer to be her life's only focus. And of course there was work she wanted to finish or progress so it would continue. Within our family, we shall always remember Fiona as colourful, light, humorous, compassionate, generous, strong, fearless, energetic, optimistic, uncomplaining, forgiving, articulate, intelligent, curious, honest, and she always acted with integrity. Reminding ourselves of these qualities will give some solace for the great loss caused by Fiona's untimely death. Tracy's parting words to us today are to remind us all, as Fiona spelled out to Tracy with a wonderful family performance choreographed by Fiona at Tracy's 50th birthday party, of the song Enjoy Yourself, It's Later Than You Think. And the chorus goes like this: enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by quickly as a wink. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And now I call upon Jane Carpenter, our old mate from primary school.
Thank you, Gail. I'm going to publicly declare now that I've had a massive girl crush on Gail since I was 5. And I asked her to be my honorary big sister, but she hasn't got back to me yet. So today marks exactly 4 weeks since Fiona's last day on Earth. And she left us very reluctantly, but because she was reconciled to the inevitable, she did it with incredible grace right to the end. And so this intervening period's been one of deep reflection for me on a lifetime of friendship. And since I already had a pretty good crack at articulating that at the funeral, I'm not going to take up too much time now, but as Gail said, our friendship was forged in very, very fortunate circumstances: loving families, financial security, seemingly endless holidays with so much swimming and water play. As you probably know, or if you don't, you'll see by the photographic evidence, Fiona was a water baby. But in the way that kids can't be sort of objective about their circumstances or the people around them, I can't really say much about Fiona as a kid, you know, she was just my friend. And you've heard from Gail about all sorts of qualities that she had, but courage was certainly one of them. And maybe diplomacy was in evidence early too, because we never fought, you know. Maybe she just let me think I'd won. But and other people will say this, it seems like she emerged from the chrysalis of sort of adolescence and university years into fully fledged adulthood. You know, from there she just spread her wings and flew high and wide, and I felt like I was just hanging around waiting for the gunk to dry, and you know, I'd launch and I'd occasionally fail. And anyway, since her death, you probably are all aware of the quantity and the effusiveness of professional tributes to Fiona. And it's not, you know, it's not surprising, because I think that she brought so many personal qualities to her work. Fine qualities, her wisdom. You know, Gail had a big list. Mine's wisdom, intellect, compassion, tact, commitment to social justice, a well-developed work ethic, big energy and big fun, and so much courage. Phenomenal courage. She was staying with me not long after her diagnosis, when she was still working part-time for the Opera House. And she came out of a Zoom meeting in which she'd had to deal with a really tricky, delicate situation. And she said, you know, I've been thinking I'm fucking good at this job. And now I've decided to be fucking good at having terminal cancer. And she really was. What Fiona managed to do with Harley's support was remarkable. I need to explain about volatile bitch for those of you wondering what is that doing there. She acquired that in preparation for her end, really, because she had been right there with Sam Morrison through a very, very difficult death. And she said she wanted it there to act as a warning for people when she finally got to that point. But she didn't live up to it, not even close. If only she could have stayed with us for longer. But how fortunate are we to have shared even part of our lives with the significant, magnificent Fiona Winning. Thank you.
So true. Penny Glass. All the way from Fairfield.
After chat, can almost see over there. Okay, well, I've been tasked with talking about the year I spent with Fiona in 1982, so we have to go back over 40 years. I arrived in Brisbane in 1982 for this job with the Popular Theatre Troupe. Most people probably know what that was. Stifling heat, dazed and sweaty in the city without old friends. Fiona was my colleague on the boards and one of my first friends here. So I was fresh out of theatre school in Melbourne. We were thrown into a maelstrom in the Popular Theatre Troupe, and I kept a diary. Oh no. Yes, well, I hope my son never reads it. Okay, so Fiona was 21. In 1 year, we devised 2 new shows. We remounted an old show. We performed non-stop, and I mean non-stop. I read this diary, it was extraordinary. From March to November in schools, prisons, factories, universities, colleges of advanced education, power stations, mining camps, sugar mills, community halls, streets, parks, protests, pickets, rallies, and radiothons. And we went on a 6-week tour to Newcastle, Sydney, Melbourne and Adelaide, and then we went on a 5-week tour up the coast, from Gladstone, north, every big town on the coast, west to Emerald and Moranbah, far as north as Cairns, Kuranda and Malanda. And we popped in a little short tour to the Sunshine Coast as well, as if we needed something else to do. And it was the year of the Commonwealth Games, if anyone remembers that, and I'm sure you do. And we were involved and motivated by what was going on, and so we did extra performances and film nights of Indigenous films and went to a lot of demos. We also took weekly dance classes with Bev Nevin. Yeah. A lot of jetés and other people on the troupe were looking a little bit tense. So, in the first show, Hands Across the Pacific, Fiona played an earnest but naive filmmaker trying to document the US-Australia cooperation since World War II. She was the foil for other characters to tell her and the audience the real story of our one-sided alliance. This may sound familiar. Then, in It's Mad, the remount, she, like all of us, played a bi-dimensional character in this Popular Theatre Troupe classic about the nuclear arms race. And in the third show, In the State We're In, written by Stephen Stockwell, we did a duo as tap dancing Queensland coppers. That was memorable. And Fiona wrote and performed a one-person show called Tea's Company, 20 minutes over the back fence with joy. There's a poster for it downstairs. On the last day of our North Queensland tour, she performed it at the Cairns Women's Shelter, and I wrote, "The show made more sense here than anywhere else I'd seen it. The issues were real." And on 17th of September 1982, just over 40 years ago, the Education Department and Queensland Arts Council came to view The State We're In and Tea's Company at Cleveland State High School. And I quote, "The kids loved the show, got involved, yelled comments, were enthusiastic. The powers that would be sat up the back, poker face. And the verdict was yes for Tea's Company, with the language toned down." I didn't have a script, so I imagine, what the fuck was that? And no to the other show, State We're In, banned in public schools. This was very common for the Popular Theatre Troupe. What a year, what an extraordinary experience of full-time performing it must have been for Fiona at 21. I keep thinking back, there's some photos of us packing up for the tour. She looks very young. So 1982 was intense, physically, emotionally, and intellectually, and I felt exhausted just reading the diary. So it was an intense intro into arts, community, and social action. We talked often about how to negotiate the powerful personalities in the room, which there were many. So that was a skill she went on to master, as we've already heard. And she would never have coordinated a tour down south in winter and up north in summer. So, later on, fast forward to 2017, thank you Harley for reminding me of the date, somehow dancing became a through line for Fiona and I, because in 2017, after 30 or so years after tap dancing around Queensland with the Popular Theatre Troupe, Fiona and Harley visited me in Santiago, Chile. We went out dancing with my friend Andrea to one of the wildest, most vibrant Chilean brass carnival percussion bands called Banda Conmoción. It was mad and sweaty, and that night will be my enduring memory of Fiona. So I'd just like to play in just as a connection to Latin America, although this is a little bit different to Banda Conmoción. But for the joy that that Fiona brought us, I'd like to just play an Andean carnival tune, and I'd encourage you to clap. So.
much. Beautiful playing.
Oh, we're clapping.
And so now, Pauline Peel would like to make some personal reflections and introduce an addendum.
An addendum, thank you. Good, that's a good start. It's a bit better start than the several pages that I've got here. Anyway, I thought I was organised, but not quite. Dennis and I met Fiona when we came back from living for 4 years in Edinburgh. It was the end of 1981. I was pregnant with Danny, who's here today. We brought back with us a whole lot of excitement about the community theatre, arts, circus work that we'd been involved in Edinburgh. Had no idea what we'd do with this work back here in Brisbane, in Queensland, where the arts weren't still particularly fashionable, and it was still the Bjelke-Petersen government. I clearly remember, we both remember, when we first met Fiona with Nat Tramachi. It was at a production at the end of 1981 at Kelvin Grove College. Dennis had taught Nat in Innisfail High School before we'd gone overseas, so there's that connection as well. I can see her still immediately engaged, curious, interested, and our friendship grew from there. As Penny said, she was in Popular Theatre Troupe in 1982, but in my mind, she visited us, or me particularly, with a baby, somewhere in between those tours and everything else. And she was keen to hear about the work in the housing estates of Edinburgh with the women. How did it work? What did it mean? Occasionally she came with her mum, so I remember those visits very fondly, Gail. And for me it was, arriving back 4 years in Brisbane, a baby, she was an important part of connecting back with this city at 21 and I was 31. Later in 1982, Dennis, Steve, Andrea and myself formed Street Arts Community Theatre Company, and over the next few years we and many others in this room mounted lots of different productions, part of the vibrant art scene and activist scene at the time. So I'm going to fast forward to the end of 1987, to 1987. Street Arts is changing. All the founding members are moving on, and there's a new venue. It's the Paint Factory down in West End. I don't think we could do it now. I think there might have been toxic paint. Anyway, something like that. But I had left by then. So I talked to a few of the street arts people, or a couple of street arts people early this week, and asked them for some words that they would use to describe their experience of working with Fiona. So I want you to envisage, it's this collective company. They've got to appoint a coordinator. Oh, what sort of person do we need? What are the qualities we're looking for? Oh, well, enthusiastic, organised, efficient, inspiring, strategic thinker, lover of creativity and the arts, clear thinker. Oh, you need to be a networker, got to have fun, you've got to be hard-working, you've got to be a mediator, maybe you need to be a chairperson. Oh, a bit of vision would be good. How about a risk taker, talent spotter, leader? Oh, and you need to perform as well. Who would that be? We don't need to have a recruitment process, do we? That's Fiona Winning. And somehow she ended up and she did great work at the Paint Factory, which was a centre, for those of you who remember, a really vibrant art centre, music, dance, the Drippy Taps, the rock and roll circus, anyway, lots of things that, naked dancing after 1989, lots of things that I can't quite remember. And I was working somewhere else anyway, but in talking to Peter and Katrina talked about all of those things that I've just mentioned, but also working with Fiona as a performer. So she did have to be administrator and a performer. And Katrina talked about that beautiful experience and the vulnerability that came with that as well. Peter commented, as many others have, in particular about the importance of Fiona's engagement with the Indigenous community at the time, which had started before, but Fiona was determined for that engagement to be real and to have action and to make a difference and not be token. And I think that's one of the things about Fiona. She was forward-looking, she was all of those things, but she was also going to make things happen. Out of that came a lot of things, but including Billy McPherson's traineeship, and I'll come back to Billy later. Fiona and Harley, and thank you Harley for your support and love over the years as well, went to Sydney a long time ago, many decades ago, but it really could have been yesterday. I will miss her bright, engaged eyes and her smile, her consistency. Bobbing up in Brisbane for a birthday, an event, a show, annual Christmas dinners, sometimes with my extended family who are here today, so they're all part of the friendship. Our daiquiri Christmas breakfast, which went on to be Christmas Eve, and maybe the daiquiri disappeared, but it's like the summer of the 17th doll, the summer of the Christmas, which has continued with Therese and Pat and Tim and Jane and Dennis and I, later our kids, sometimes others. I'll miss all of that. And I thought, as people have talked about Fiona's forward-looking, her optimism, her positivism, in that there's a great deal of hope, because she really believed she could make a difference, she could be inclusive, she would make that difference. And it reminded me a little bit of a poem of Emily Dickinson's, which I want to read, and I suppose leave with you, as Fiona is embedded with her engaged eyes, her forward-looking, her optimism and hope in all of our hearts. So this poem goes, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all." Thank you, Fiona. And now I'm going to introduce Billy McPherson. So Billy went to Sydney. Fiona and Harley continued to support and mentor him, and you might have seen him. You've seen him in lots of shows. Recently, he was the star of the NAIDOC series of ads, and he wanted to be here today, and he is.
Got even army. I told you I'll be there in the spirit. We've got technology. My condolences to the family and to all the friends, and sending lots of love. One Gina, when I first started at Street Arts in '88 in the trainee, she said, "Bill, we've got to get you a didgeridoo, you darkie. We'll send you up to the Townsville for the Asia Pacific Arts Festival." I can't play didgeridoo. But she said, "You will?" This one's for you, one Gina. Every night I look at the evening star, I look for you. Thank you so much. Oh, and I'm teaching my son and the grandkids too. Guardian and Army. Guardian and Army, Jojo Warani. Guardian and Army, Guardian and Army, Jojo Warani. Guardian and Army, Guardian
Drippy Tap.
I know, it's hard to believe I only started tap dancing last week. Bit drippy. The Drippy Taps were Sam Morrison, Cheeky Brat, Elspeth Hurse, Bubbles Bath, who is with us today all the way from St. George, Ann Scanlan, Dizzy Spell, who can't be with us, but she was at the funeral and we connected about this. And of course, Fiona Winning, aptly named Precious Gem. So they grew out of the Women's Performance Collective and later became Syntheatrics. And they performed on and off from 1984 to 1988. So here's a message from Dizzy Spell to my precious gem, Drippy Tap. We did hang up our tap shoes some time ago, but the days of dress-ups, taps on, taking on the corrupt regime of the day while having a whole lot of fun are deeply embedded in our shared past. I remember the day you turned up in the Big Smoke, Bris Vegas, when Cheeky Brat and myself were in despair. She binging on tahini, me on licorice all sorts, and Bubbles Bath Drippy Tap moved to Weeper to spread her tap talents far and wide. We were reunited with Bubbles at Orley Park in West End when we dressed as bees and tapped on the grass. Maybe I should have tried that. Eventually we went our separate Drippy Tap ways, but we never turned off the tap. Precious gem, your sparkle illuminated the way for many. Your shoes became bolder and brighter, and your passion and action for justice and equality never wavered. I was devastated when Cheeky Brat left us, and am utterly heartbroken that you have now joined her. But can imagine the drip, drip, tappity tap that's echoing in the heavens. Tap on and travel well, dear one. Love always, Dizzy Spell, Drippy Tap.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and much love to you, Harley and family. Just to say, I can't remember the moment I met Fiona. It's like she was always there. Like, I remember growing up here in Brisbane and going to college, and you'd go to events and Fiona was there. And it's not that you can't remember her, because she was always so decked out. She wasn't ashamed to be from a subtropical place and to show colour, a bit unlike me today. But this notion of being bright. And I think that there's something to be said for the time in which she grew up, I grew up, we grew up. Kevin Gilbert, Aboriginal poet, says, "You sharpen your axe on the hardest stone." There's something about making yourself stronger because of the opposition to something. And that she was not just about opposing, but about changing. Fiona was always at the beginning of something that changed. I would see her and she'd be there and she'd be at a company and she'd go, oh, something's going to change here, and something would. Mostly because she was there. When I think about when she moved to Sydney, where I got to know her a little bit more, I think in terms of a lot of her contributions to companies, she would take a company and they would transform under her guidance. She would see something in this company and say, actually, this can be more than what it was before. I think about Death Divine Theatre and going, actually, what is this? And what can it be? She was the doula for so many changes of company. She brought companies into a new life because of what she believed in and her sense of hope that they can make a difference. She saw, here is the hardest stone, and this company can actually sharpen its axe on this. So many careers actually relied, Therese, I so loved just seeing your legs in those times. They're very well shaped. But so many careers relied on Fiona. And she was there not just at the beginning of rebirths of companies, but also about how careers could occur. On the night that Fiona died, I was at a dance event in Sydney, and there were a group of people who had just heard the news. And we sat and we all could actually pinpoint the moment that Fiona had made a difference in our careers. We're talking about Branch Nebula, we're talking about the dance makers collectives, we're talking about individual choreographers, that she had made a difference either through programming them or giving advice or being there to help them imagine what was possible. My example of that is when I became the artistic director of the Sydney Festival. And Fiona had been there as the programming director or the head of programming for a very long time. 6 years, I think, before I got there. And in many ways, it's the job she should have had. It's the job she should have had because of her experience, because of her wisdom, because of her connections, and because of her experiences. That wasn't going to be the case. And she was so gracious about this because something tweaked in her and she understood, and she said to me that actually enabling an Aboriginal person to be the artistic director of this festival was a goal for her and was an amazing thing to see. A sense that beyond her self-interest, she could go, this is a goal, this is something that will happen, this is something that will change history because she made something different. That time at Sydney Festival was amazing, and I think that in many ways, trying to give Fiona to play the role Fiona played for me is something that was very difficult for lots of other people around, because she was so good at what she did. But I really wanted her to have moments where she could actually shine, and I don't think I achieved that. I think I failed her at times. What I loved is to see how she and all of the people around her would lift. When she helped set up the NIDA Cultural Leadership Program, and she was saying, what's the next generation going to look like of leaders? And how do they, with the absence of Joe Bianca-Peterson, become stronger, become sharper, and actually be able to create theatre, art, manage companies that are beyond themselves and can imagine something different. In many ways, what we lose, and what we've lost with Fiona's passing, is the shape of her in our community. A shape that no one person will be able to fulfill, but that all of us will have to do. In many ways, she was my memory. She held stories, she held relationships, and I think that that's something that I will now need to do for myself, because you can't rely on her. And in the same way now, when I sit in a meeting and I go, something's wrong about this, to go, what would Fiona do? And I remember that lovely card that's been floating around. And I go, actually, what would Fiona say in the face of this hypocrisy or this injustice or the need for this person to now step up and become something else? Who is that person? And I think we collectively are the inheritors of that legacy. As always with the passing of an elder, you feel yourself inadequate to step into those shoes. And I think that as individuals we are. If something that Fiona taught me is about being beyond self-interest and about being the collective force that makes change, That's what she learned, that's what she has, and I think that that's something that I will take on for myself as I go forward. So a blessing to you, Harley, and to the family, and to say thank you for sharing Fiona with an industry which is thankless and cruel and harsh and full of attrition and pushes you away, because her sense of hope and joy is something that we'll all take with us. Thank you very much.
Bernie, can you, because my missus couldn't make it, so can you be a documenter? Just do that. G'day, I'm John Willsteed, it's my daughter Delilah Moon. This song, in the winter solstice of 1991, Michelle Andringer and I performed at a party at what was called the Love Hotel, and I think it was for Harley's birthday, I reckon, but 1991, what were you, 14 or something? And, hang on. And so I was playing with Michelle, and this woman, Kathy Weems, who's a great singer, trumpet player, cornered me and said, can you play guitar with me? And we went out to a back room and she taught me how to play George Jones' Beneath Still Waters, and Kath sang it and I accompanied her. And then we'd had a little, in my band, the Plug Uglies, we'd had a little offshoot called Wingnut, Prawn and Horrid for it. And but Kath was really good, so then we made a version of that called The Drunk, the Monk and the Spunk, and we used to play at the Annandale Hotel. Harley and Fiona used to turn up a lot, I think. Lots of people used to turn up. Well, not actually lots. Very few people. So we used to play covers, Jimmy Webb and Glenn Campbell, just beautiful ballads. And we wrote a couple of things, and then my dear friend Ross Gibson started giving me lyrics, and so Ross gave us the lyrics to this song called Clear Light, and my lovely daughter's going to sing, and I'm going to help her. And you go the microphone thing.
All right.
If I could lie down in the arms of my true love, if I could lay down in my love's arms tonight, I'd cry to the heavens, or whoever could hear me. I'd cry to the nighttime and wake up in clear light. For she is the bright light that shines in my window. She is the pure sound that beckons me on. And if she were to leave me the same way the wind blows, I'd be cold as the night when the sun's warmth has gone. This is my quandary, and this is my nightmare. She's lying so still in my squalid back room. There's a problem that looms now in all of this stark glare, and I cannot wake her, for the night brings its gloom. I'll seek her and find her wherever she's gone, and I'm not gonna rest till she's safe here with me. I know the dark shadows that beckon will follow and drag like a whirlpool in a blood-red sea.
Solo.
So my soul is with Satan, I see no way around it. My lover is elsewhere, outside of my grasp, and the blood and the handprint If I were to look now to seek and to find her, I'd have to go storming through heaven's clear light. That's where she's living in beauty resplendent. That's where I'm safe from the shadows of night.
There's been talk of this, what would Fiona do? We do have some cards that were at the Sydney funeral, and there's not enough for everyone. But we're going to post them online so you can read them at your leisure. But Anna Bloxage is going to speak and read out the cards. I'll just get
What a privilege to be able to speak at this extraordinary second celebration. Wasn't Fiona just incredible? I'm actually just going to read what Deborah Kelly, who coined these most poignant words, shared with Jane for me to share with you. I have to admit that personally, since being at the funeral, I have actually shared these words with people who never touched Fiona, met her or anything, and they have been profoundly moved by the extraordinariness of Fiona that is evident in what Deborah coined. Anyway, back to the words themselves. This is from Deborah. Dear Northern friends of Fiona, I'm Deborah Kelly, artist and Southern FOF, friend of Fiona. Yeah, I wondered. I send greetings from Sydney with thanks to Jane and her team for organising this reading to you today. I'm so sorry for your loss, our personal loss, and the loss to our cultural ecology. I wanted to give those of us bereaved in a tangible way to remember Fiona and the bright, true light she shone on the world and our lives. So from an unscientific survey, I produced these cards to use as a guide in her absence. I hope you find them helpful. What would Fiona do? Say yes. Turn up. Do the hard work. See what needs to be done and do it. Find the humour, laugh well and often. Remember to make time for the necessary party. Open the champagne. Be fabulous. Wear something great. Know when to go to bed. Don't burn bridges. Try to find a way to cross them. Keep trying. Ask after loved ones. Build connection. Honour the thorny process. Engage in feisty dialogue. Love the extraordinary with all your heart. Back artists and back the art. Delight in the powers of others. Amplify them. Be conscious always of missing voices and make space. Defend justice every time. Ask the right questions. Be curious and engaged. Cut to the heart. Know what you're talking about, and if you don't know, research. Respond with grace to the curly quandary. Cultivate empathy for the fragilities and precarities of artists' lives. If you're not interested, make it clear. Leave no one hanging. In defeat, don't be bitter. It's probably not about you. Take a breath, imagine the kindest way, and choose that way. Summon superhuman patience in the face of bureaucracy. Stand your ground. Take courage. Find your own way to keep winning.
some more scored notes from things I might say. It's kind of a bit of a collage, really. I can't really get my head out of collage mode. Thank you. Thanks, Jane and Pauline, Willsteed, Delilah, Therese, and everyone who's put this event on. It's lovely to be here in Fiona's other home and my other home. Yeah, Drunk, the Monk and the Spunk. We used to come and watch you pretty well every Monday.
I think on that handle it says a loser's night out.
It was the same set, no? You had one set.
Yeah, we just did the same.
Do it in the same order as on the album.
Shift things around.
Yeah.
Showbiz.
So Fiona and I we got together. I started in Sydney with this. I don't know. It's really more of a wedding story to start with. We got together. I won't tell the story about. I did go past some of the old haunts yesterday. So 37 years we were together. We got together at the closing night party of the street arts show Under Wraps, which ran at the Paint Factory from the 6th to the 16th of July 1988. And Billy Mack performed in it, Sam Morrison performed in it. Who else performed in it? Kath Porrell. I was in the writing group. I wrote this kind of thread of characters that what I imagined to be homeless people who actually were guardians of the land. It was very naive. And we did, there were production meetings where, yesterday I did some admin in the morning, and then I went to have lunch in West End, and I walked up West End, Boundary Street, West End, and I went into Avid Reader and said hello to Fiona Stagger, and that was kind of the one person that I remembered, and the one kind of shop that was still the same. Actually, it's not quite, not really. So we had 37 years together, only 2 years in Brisbane. We moved to Sydney in 1990. Anyway, so we get back, flipping around, back to the closing night party of Under Wraps. So there had been kind of, there was some indications earlier on that in the production meetings where Fiona said, Harley Stumm, we should go camping together. And Fiona's friends had never heard her express. Anyway, so that I think was about 5 a.m. at the rap party at our house, Strath Street, 24 Strath Street, Highgate Hill. I went past there yesterday and had a look in. That's actually where Grant McLennan died, in the bedroom which I had previously occupied in 1988. So I got to go again. I went and parked outside Westbourne Street. I went and took photos. I looked in that, it still looks exactly the same. Is Rosina still collecting rent? I went to Blakeney Street where I live with Kerry O'Rourke. Kerry, thank you for inviting Fiona to that dinner party. I think it was about 86 or 87, and where she left the salad bowl behind. Strath Street. I drove down Ryan Street, and finally those houses have been demolished. So where's Tanya? Yeah. I saw Katrina earlier. Fiona and I came and painted a bedroom in 111 one time, I think. When we were doing the painting. So we moved to Sydney in 1990. I guess you can take the girl out of Brisbane, but you can't take Brisbane out of the girl. We didn't spend so much time in Brisbane, but we came home every Christmas. We came for family things. Increasingly, we came for work. As we kind of moved into jobs where you got to travel and you had to go and see shows that you might program at one of the one of the organisations that Wesley has really beautifully described the way Fiona hardened and transformed, sharpened against the hard rock. We loved our lives and worked and our friends in Sydney, but so too our Brisbane family and community. And it's so lovely to see the layers and layers of people here. You know, from Fiona and my oldest friend, Jane and Jane, you know, through to Pauline spoke about, you know, Christmas Eve dinners at their place, tennis with Pat and Therese, you know, our newer friends Stuart and Mark and Woody and the kind of the great New Year's Eve crew. Fiona was so looking forward to spending time with you guys. It's I'm in Gerald, but just honestly speaking. But it was really lovely that you guys all welcomed the kind of the present, trying to conjure Fiona into that space through some of her quite substantial collection of tropical bling, which you can see here. So yeah, I mean, we love the tropics, you know. We were actually both at the Daintree Road blockade in 1984 without knowing each other or without knowing that we were there. We kind of worked out some years later. I think Jane, you mentioned about, Penny, Fiona touring to that tour, and is that when she fell in love with the place and moved to Cairns? Gail, was that? 82, 83, did she?
Yeah, it was 83.
83, yeah. So, you know, jobs Fiona Winning has had. Working in a women's shelter in Cairns in the early 80s under like proto-fascist dictatorship, teaching literacy to First Nations kids at TAFE in Cairns and being told, don't bother, you won't get anywhere. Doing silver service in London, you know, so many things. So I started talking about North Queensland, and I really wanted to come. Perhaps we were lucky enough to spend all of July there. We didn't know it was going to be our last holiday together, or indeed. Fiona's kind of almost last time, last month on this planet. We haven't talked about the story of the last time, so maybe as not everyone will know, perhaps that's not a bad thing for me to do. So we spent a lot of time in North Queensland, many holidays over the years, and this photo, this is Mason's swimming hole behind the shop at Cape Tribulation, if anyone knows that. I think that was on our first trip there together in 1990, but it might have been the second one. 2021, we went on holiday and we actually to North Queensland. We stayed in House at Hallways Beach, then we went to Cape Trib. We hired a four-wheel drive. We're going to do the road that we had blockaded. So we did. We drove to Cooktown, and this was June 2021. So the border shut behind us, and we had our 12 days holiday. And we were saying, we looked at each other the night before we were due to go home and said, let's stay up, let's see things out. So we did, and we extended for a week, and then it was clear Sydney was going to be locked down for months. So we stayed as long as we could, and we found an apartment in Clifton Beach, which we just totally fell in love with. And in fact, 2 years ago we bought an apartment there, and that we kind of imagined was going to be a place we might retire to. I'll gradually move there. So it wasn't that for Fiona, but it was so wonderful to have that place for the last 20 months of our lives together. When we were late November 2023, our second trip up there to finish setting up the apartment, the day that we felt that that we'd kind of done not everything, but great. That's the major stuff done. We have a home to live in. We went out to lunch and we went for a drive to our favourite swimming hole, Stony Creek, about 15 minutes drive from our place. And Fiona had a fall and she knew that she'd hurt herself, not very far. So we called an ambulance, she was stretchered out. We were in Cairns Hospital. They straight up diagnosed 6 broken vertebrae. Orthopaedic doctor came the next day and said, hey, great news, the fractures are stable, we're taking you off spinal precautions, you'll be walking out of here tomorrow. But did you know you had cancer? Kind of. Not as brutally, but that was the message. So Fiona had a lumpectomy in 2014, very early stage 0 cancer, and they were very confident they'd got it all. She had no recurrence for 10 years until suddenly it just went out of control. We were lucky to have a beautiful oncologist, Sanjeev Kumar, a friend of ours, who gave Fiona the best treatment and was incredible generosity and support and love to enable her to kind of live and live her best life for the time we had left, which we thought was, he said on average might be about 5 or 6 years. None of the treatments really, one treatment worked for a few months. Fiona was on chemo much earlier than we hoped. The chemo worked on some of the cancers. The initial diagnosis was primarily estrogen responsive, which is the least bad breast cancer to have, but it quickly diversified and she had all 3 kind of varieties, and the worst one, the triple negative, was in her liver. And like on the 5th of August, we were swimming in waterfalls and lying on the beach. She came back, we came back. To have had that month in the tropics, Sanjeev had organised for Fiona to have chemo in Cairns Hospital. But we came back and she had to have, she went straight into preparation for radiation on a lesion in her brain, which was not a major worry, but doesn't respond to chemo, and more, operations put a pin in her femur, which was compromised by the cancer. However, it wasn't, the operation's fine, just went well, but really the last few days Fiona had become just completely exhausted, and so clearly what was happening was the lesion in the liver was out of control, and in those 3 days after the operation, her liver basically shut down. She was supported by, if anyone watched the live stream, or the people who attended in Sydney, Victoria Spence, a dear friend, celebrant and deaf doula. Victoria was an artist, or is an artist, but was an artist at Performance Space. Fiona worked with on lots of great projects. And then Fiona was interested in Victoria, as Victoria moved from performance into, following her interest in ceremony and ritual, into celebrancy, is that? Yeah. Okay. And then into being a death doula, supporting a person to die, through the end of life, and funeral director. So on when I went to see Fiona after the operation, she said, "This is the end." Not immediately, but the beginning of the end. And the next day she said, "I'm dying and I'm ready to." And Victoria spoke about how Fiona said, "I've got this." And yeah, I mean, there have been so many words spoken in speeches and Facebook posts and messages to me on WhatsApp and iMessage and email and every other platform about her incredible confidence and generosity and love, and we just had such an incredible 37 years together. probably said just about everything I can say, have I? Yeah, sure about. 37 years, how many swims, how many beaches, how many waterfalls, how many feasts, how many parties, how many bushwalks, how many shows, how many grand applications, how many speeches, how many quibbles, how many opening nights, how many artists, how many panels, how many support letters. I can't, honestly, Fiona was just so generous with support letters. You know, we I guess we had a life of making art and making change together. And I guess I'm starting to think about how to continue to honour that. Yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to have the slideshow. I'll just say just a quick word on the music there. The first track needs no introduction. The second track is by a Melbourne-based cumbia band, La Descarga, friends of ours, Jorge and Claudia. And Fiona and I saw them perform live at Lazy Bones in Sydney on the 5th of May. So this is the last band that Fiona danced to. And the track that you're going to hear is a bit upbeat 4 hour away. But are you ready for that? It's called Eliminala, which means eliminate it, get rid of it. So it's about getting rid of negative thoughts, which is what Fiona is all about. Thanks.
once had. From time down to mine, That time was bad, so I knew where I was. Alone, and so at home.
beautiful Harley. I think there's just one little word from the circle, someone who really wants to speak. It's Annie O'Dowd. Thanks, Annie. And then after that, I think it's the song. Yeah? Yeah. To finish.
I'm sorry to do this to you. You must be dying to have a cup of tea. I probably should have been on at the beginning because I feel like we've gone deep and now we're going to go shallow. This is just a little story about Fiona I wanted to share because I feel that it says so much about her. I knew about Fiona before I actually knew her. Fiona Winning. She always had the both names when I heard about her. Glimpsed briefly at the Ascot State School Swimming Club. A friend of a friend of a friend. Both names. Then, later in her Playfield College green school uniform, she was the girl most likely. I knew that she was good at drama and clever. I knew that she was funny. But it wasn't until I came back from my exchange year abroad in America that I found that she had joined our group of friends. It wasn't a quiet takeover. Fiona defined a fresh chapter. My younger brother Lockie was remarkably captivated with her. He had a particular smile when she came around. Not Fiona Winning, but his special nickname for her, Fiones, and the moniker seemed to stick. Fiones had an infectious laugh, and when she laughed, you just couldn't help but join in with her. That laugh took in the hilarious folly of everything, and most especially of her own foibles. It was such an attractive quality. It was, just like she couldn't take herself too seriously, when it really was very funny when you thought about it. And while she cared, as you all know, about injustice of every kind, she was only a hair's breadth away from a really good belly laugh. After uni, we ended up in North Queensland together. In characteristic contrast, Fiona was working in a women's shelter, taking on the entire inequality between the sexes, while I was basket weaving in the rainforest. It was like Fiona, and somebody else mentioned this actually, it was like Fiona was already a grown-up, and that she was just about to be really good at that too. I remember one incident when I was staying with her in Cairns, which I think speaks to her plain, sensible kindness. I'd been doing a spot of sewing while she was at work and had made a very 80s dress out of one of her sheets. Fiona was particularly taken with it, so I decided to make her one too. I cast around for another stray sheet, but then, finding none spare, my eyes lit upon the piece of fabric hanging in her doorway as a sort of, it was the door. It was a piece of prized Liberty print, hence my dress today. It's not the door, not the actual one, a similar sort of thing. At that time, I'm sure you remember, Liberty print was very prized, and you actually had to go to London to get it. It was very, very special. And when she was out, I decided to make a dress out of it. The only problem was it was a little bit smaller than the sheet. In fact, it was exactly the same size as the doorway. But when I sewed it up, it sort of lacked that oversized Madonna quality that I was going for. I felt sick. I thought, oh God, this has gone really badly. Was she going to be angry with me? And when Fiona arrived home, I presented her with the dress. She smiled and tried it on. And although it was not quite right, and we both knew she'd actually rather it had the curtain, she looked up at me and said, "Thank you, Annie, it's lovely."
Fiona was too much of a good person to be anything but generous. Plus, she was intrinsically practical. There was actually no way to put the dress back into the curtains. Let it go. Fiona had integrity, as we've all said quite a few times this morning, in all her dealings with people. She used her powers for good. She put others first. And although Fiona moved on to become the girl most likely to run the programming at the Sydney Opera House, she was still Fiona's. Unjudgmental, kind, loyal. I think she exemplified the old adage, it's not what you do, but the way in which you do it. Thank you.
I've lost my bit of paper, but anyway. I think we're coming to the end now. Yes. We are the Cowdies, formerly known as the Kilted Cowdies, formerly known as the Kilted Cowboys. But we're going to sing a song. And after that, we invite you all to eat, drink and share stories downstairs, and look at all the beautiful pieces of memorabilia and photos, more photos of Fiona. Yes, this song is Anthem by Leonard Cohen, and we would like you to join in the chorus, and if you feel like it, you could now stand. The chorus goes, ring the bells that still can ring, forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. thank you everyone. There are so many people to thank for bringing this together today, but I'm not going to name you individually, much as we do that, because what's happened here over the time is that everyone who's brought this together and all of you who are here together today have come here with great pleasure and joy and love and really want to be here to share this moment together. And to remember together that we are not alone. Together we are stronger. Together we are smarter, sometimes funnier. Got to put the joke in. But definitely open-hearted. We are good people. And Fiona was well, we've said all the words. But I would especially like to thank Fiona's family and Harley and his family for their open-heartedness in sharing, allowing us to share this opportunity to share our love of Fiona. So join with me in thanking